Going to be going over the different market structures that go on in our economy. What a market structure is simply the type of businesses and the ways our markets are structured. So here are a few examples. We have perfect competition, we have monopolies, oligopolies, monopolistic competition. You probably know two of these already, monopolies and perfect competition. A perfect competition is simply a bunch of small businesses, millions. Monopoly is just one. It's simply the different types of market structures that go on for specific products that we're going to cover today. A perfect competition in the free market is simply a large amount of businesses. It's the ideal situation we want in our economy. Huge amounts of competition. Many different small firms. They're mostly all small. This is because there's low barriers to entry. What that means, it's really easy to open up a shop. It's really easy to get a job and open up one of these businesses. They're rather identical. What we've seen in the real world is that all these perfect competition businesses, they produce relatively the same product. So because of that, they don't make more profit. Firms are price takers, which means that basically they have no control over the price, basically. They have to take the price of the market. Why? Because if they, let's say we're selling bananas and my competitor over the street is selling them for $3. Well, I'm going to have to sell them for $3 as well. Because if I go to 310, then I'm not going to make any profit because then everyone's going to go to my neighbors, to the people down the street. But if I go to 290, let's say, then everyone's going to go to me, and that's also not good because then maybe my opponent's going to go down to 280, and then I'm going to be forced to go down to 270. So really you have no control over price because you have so much competition. Remember, perfect competition is the most efficient type of market structure. Firms are making a normal profit, meaning they're not really making any profit at all. They're making no extra profit. They're just being able to run their business. Now we have a graph to basically model the perfect competition. In the market, it's a basic supply and demand graph you might see in an economics class. Demand downward sloping, supply upward sloping, because this is the ideal situation. Now let's go to the firm. If you don't understand what this is and the cost curves, that's okay. Just understand that marginal cost is increasing because ideally it's the increasing rate of a decreasing rate of returns. Basically, the more you hire workers or the more you scale your business, the more costs come in, especially marginal costs. Then you can notice that demand equals marginal revenue. What this line means here is that basically we can't increase the price at all because if we do, then our consumers are just going to go to our competitors, and then boom, no revenue at all. So that line right there basically means we're stuck. We're stuck at our price right here. So now let's go through this question. Pause the video and try to answer it. Okay, let's go over it. In a perfectly competitive industry, firms are currently earning positive economic profits in the short run. Which of the following is most likely to occur in the long run? So let's just analyze this first. Perfect competition. Remember, perfect competition, there is no extra profit. Even if you're making profit in the short run, in the long run, it's going to self-adjust basically, and then boom, you're not going to be making any profit. So let's see what answers actually meet that. The market price will rise and existing firms will earn greater profits. Nah, that's definitely not right. New firms will enter the market, driving the price down to the level of the marginal cost. That definitely could be right. What we've seen generally is that when you make extra profits, if you make a lot of money, then boom, people are going to join in. Because remember, there's low barriers to entry. Anyone can sell your product. And then boom, that lowers down your profits. C, firms will increase prices to maintain profits. Maybe. D, government regulation will be required to restore equilibrium. Not necessarily. E, the industry will become a monopoly as one firm dominates. That could definitely happen, but if it's a perfect competition and low barriers to entry, because of that, no, that wouldn't happen. So the best answer here would be B, because with a perfect competition, if you're making a little bit of profit, people are going to join in, and then boom, you're not making a profit. Now let's go to imperfect competition. Remember, perfect competition is our ideal situation. It's the best situation. It's the ideal capitalist system that, boom, there's a lot of competition. We're doing great. But then we also have imperfect competition. Imperfect competition is like your monopolies, your oligopolies, your monopolistic competition. Basically, it's unideal market structures. It's very inefficient. This is because there is barriers to entry. You can't just open up a car dealer. No, you can't just open up a car factory. You can't just open up an electrical plant. You can't just sell solar energy all of a sudden. There is high barriers to entry. Generally, there's either high financial costs, some sort of technological or innovation like patents or copyrights, or you own the materials to make your product. So if you make this really, really special, let's say, nuclear power plant or nuclear reactor, and you own all the materials to make it, then yeah, you have the barriers to entry. You can become a monopoly. Three main types: monopolistic competition, monopolies, and oligopolies. Let's go into the first one that you probably already know: a monopoly. Simply, a monopoly is when one firm controls everything. It controls the production, controls the supply, everything. Generally, the characteristics: one firm in the market is the firm. You have a really unique product. This is really, not a lot of people understand this, but if you have the same product as someone else, then you're gonna have competition. But if you have a really unique product that no one else sells, then yeah, you can become a monopoly. You can make some profit. So monopolies generally have really unique products. We have really high barriers to entry. You can't just enter the market, and even if you are somehow able to, it's going to cost you a lot of money, or you're going to have to use a patent, copyright, or something crazy is going to have to happen. And monopolies are price makers. What that means is monopolies can determine the price they want as long as they're making the most profit. Now, if you don't understand this graph, that's perfectly okay, but let's go over it. We have a regular demand curve. Marginal cost is always kind of like this, upward sloping line. Average total cost is almost always like that. And then marginal revenue, here it's unique. It's not straight like here. It's a downward sloping line. Why? Because they can change their price. Unlike perfect competition, where they're stuck to one price. If they increase the price, and then boom, everyone's going to go to their competition, they don't have competition. So because of that, marginal revenue is downward sloping. So just understand this type of graph if you really want to understand monopolies. Then we also have a natural monopoly. A natural monopoly, sometimes some firms naturally take over because they have the lowest cost of production. For example, some companies might have a patent or a copyright that makes them able to make solar energy, for instance, better and cheaper than anyone else. That creates a natural monopoly. For natural monopolies, you'll generally see a graph like this, where marginal cost and average total cost are more elongated. Not like this, where it's more like a parabola you might see in a math class. It's more elongated. That's your idea, and that's how you notice a natural monopoly. So now let's go to this question. Pause the video, try to answer it. Okay, let's go through it. A monopolist is producing a quantity where marginal revenue is less than marginal cost. To maximize profit, the monopolist should. So let's first understand the question. The monopolist is producing a quantity where marginal revenue is lower than marginal cost. That means if marginal revenue is below marginal cost, that you're not maximizing your profits just yet. So if you want to maximize profits, the best way to do that, and what monopolies do all the time in the real world, is that they increase price and decrease output. So what's our answer here? It's C. That's what monopolies do all the time to maximize their profits, and if marginal revenue is below marginal cost, then yeah, that's what they're going to do. Now let's go to monopolistic competition. It's a little bit unique, and a lot of people have not actually dealt with one. It's a mix of perfect competition and a monopoly. There's a decent amount of firms. Ignore the large part, just a decent amount, maybe 10, 20, 50, 100, something like that, 1,000. Less than perfect competition, more than a monopoly. It's different products. You have some control over price, not all, not none, but you have some control. There's some barriers to entry, but they're very low. And generally what we've seen in the real world is that there's a lot of advertising that goes on with monopolistic competition. This is our general graph, and you might notice this is exactly the same as a monopoly. And yeah, you're right. However, the difference is in the long run, in the long term, monopolistic competition just becomes perfect competition Because of the very low barriers to entry, people join in monopolistic competition. Boom, boom, boom. The marginal revenue curve slowly starts to move up, 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 and then boom. There's so much competition that you're not being able to make any profit. So in the long run, monopolistic competition becomes perfect competition. But in the short run, it looks like a monopoly graph, kind of like what we saw here. Now let's go into oligopoly. It's a bit unique, but it's somewhat easy to understand. An oligopoly is a situation where we have a few firms, not one, not hundreds, but a few, maybe 5, 3, 10, something like that. So a few firms. You can have identical or differentiated products, it doesn't matter. There are very high barriers to entry, similar to monopoly. You are a price maker. But the difference here between monopolies and oligopolies is that with oligopolies, you kind of have to negotiate with the other people. Let's say you're selling ice cream on the beach, right? And there's 3 different people selling ice cream on the beach. Let's say they're selling it for $3 per ice cream or whatever. Well, you're gonna have to talk to them eventually. Let's say you lower your price down to $2.90 to get all the customers. Well, they're going to use competition, or they're going to try to fight your competition to lower it to $2.80. So how are you going to get customers? Well, you're going to have to lower down to $2.70, and then they're going to lower down to $2.60, and so on and so forth until none of you make profit. So oligopolies collude. They work together. There's only 3 of you. So what if you guys just all sell ice cream exactly at the same price? Let's say you sell it at $10, $50, $100. You guys basically control the price. You get what I'm saying here? Oligopolies and those companies and corporations can work together to maximize their profits. So we don't actually have a graph here, but we have what people call game theory. It's how 2 different individuals might see different options and work together. For game theory, you're going to have to have questions and situations kind of like this. Let's analyze this. We have prisoner A and prisoner B, and I believe they're both being convicted of the same crime. If prisoner A confesses and prisoner B confesses, they both get 5 years. But if prisoner A confesses and prisoner B denies his involvement, prisoner A gets a year and prisoner B gets 10 years. Let's say prisoner A denies and prisoner B confesses, then prisoner A gets 10 years, prisoner B gets 1 year. But if they both deny, then they both get 2 years. So, what is the best for both of these individuals? Well, the best thing for them to do is collude, to work together, kind of like an oligopoly. So, they both deny it, they both get 2 years. That's the best case situation for both of them. So, what should the prisoner A do? Well, if he confesses, he either gets 5 years or 1 year, depending on prisoner B. But if he denies, he gets either 10 or 2. So no matter what, prisoner A benefits from confessing. So if he confesses, he actually gets less time. Because if he confesses 5 or 1, if he denies 10 or 2. So his dominant strategy, what he should do, is confess. Because that's the best case situation. So now prisoner B knows prisoner A will confess because it's in his best idea. So his best option would be to confess as well. Since if he denies, then he's going to get 10 years. But if he confesses, he gets 5 years. So if prisoner A confesses, which he definitely should, then prisoner B has 2 options, either 5 years or 10 years. So obviously he's going to confess. So game theory leads us to believe that both of them are going to confess, and then they both get 5 years. So let's just summarize all of these different market structures. Perfect competition is the ideal situation. They're price takers, so basically they can't control price, and they're very efficient. There's a lot of competition, however, so they don't really have any way to change price. Then we have monopolistic competition. Slightly more of a monopoly. Overall, they have differentiated products, a couple hundreds of firms maybe, a little control over the product and the price, a little control over the barriers to entry, etc. A monopoly, something you've already probably learned. It's a unique good. There's only one individual. They control the market completely, high barriers to entry. Then an oligopoly is unique. It's in between. It's a pseudo monopoly almost. There's a few firms, maybe 3, 5, 10, something like that. And they use game theory and collusion to actually make what's most efficient. Overall, what we see with all of them, if you've learned some economics beforehand, they all share the cost curves. They all share a shutdown point. They all share marginal revenue because of marginal cost for profit maximization, and they all want profits. So now you understand the basics of perfect competition, all these graphs, and you understand why our markets become all these different things, how they're shaped by competition, how they're shaped by barriers to entry, and so much more.